If you knew beyond the shadow of a doubt, you could do anything you wanted and it was impossible to fail, what would you do? And my son, he looked at me and he said, Dad, I wouldn't be afraid to try anything. I said, okay, you can't fail.
Are you an entrepreneur building wealth while designing freedom? Welcome to Hunt for Success, the podcast where business, lifestyle, and the pursuit of a life well lived come together. Each week, Dr. Sam McGew sits down with founders, operators, and high performers to explore the principles, discipline, and decisions that create real success in business and in life. From the boardroom to the backcountry, these are conversations about building wealth, earning freedom, and designing a life worth hunting for.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Sam McGew. We're here at the Hunt for Success. This week, we have Gregory DePriest, who is an Amazon delivery service professional. He's done some other businesses, and he also, of course, likes to hunt and fish. And we're going to talk a little bit about both. Welcome to the show, Gregory.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
So can you go back and kind of tell me how you got started in business and then, kind of tell us a little bit about your journey?
Okay, I'm one of 10 kids. My mother was widowed at 40 years of age. But she was an incredibly strong woman. She had 10 kids at home, a widow, 40 years of age. And I've got 4 younger brothers. I was 13 when my father passed away. And mother got us boys around strong men.
Mm-hmm.
One of the unique things was the church that we went to. The men of the church had over 3,000 acres leased to hunt on.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a hunting club in Mississippi. And they taught me and my brothers how to hunt, how to be men. And then a lot of these men were successful business people. And so gradually, as time went along, I got out of high school, went on to college, and then I started banking. So my first career was in banking, and I did that and loved it. I was with Nissan Motor Acceptance. I helped start Infinity Finance when the Infinity cars come along. Then in 1992, I took a total different career path, and I became a pastor and took a small church of 60 people in East Tennessee. I set a goal. I've always been the kind of person that sets goals. So I set a goal for 25 years. And my 24th year, we became the largest attended church in the Tri-Cities. We had over 2,200 people a Sunday in service. And so 24th year, I told the board, I'm stepping down. And my 25th year, you got 1 year to get my replacement. Because I wanted to go into logistics. I wanted to establish, I didn't have a retirement fund. I never made a lot of money as a pastor. Large church, very blessed. I just didn't believe that's where you're supposed to make it. Mm-hmm. And so I started in 2018, a friend of mine, he's a billionaire. He asked me to help him raise $30 million for an orphanage, and we raised $56.6 million. I brought Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Peyton Manning, all these superstars in, Dan Marino, and people paid $100,000 a piece to play play golf with them, and we raised $56.6 million. It's the highest PGA endorsed fundraiser ever in history. And then right after that, Amazon talked to me, and the rest is history. I started a logistics company with Amazon in 2019, and it's been fabulous.
Nice. And I was at a conference where I met you, and you're probably doing the most, you call them routes per day that I'm talking to all these different people about their businesses, and you are, and sometimes double or more than they're doing. How are you accomplishing that?
Well, I've got a good team. I've got a really good team with me. I've got a really good station that I operate out of. And I tell folks this, it's not just one thing. There's multiple things that go into it. And when it all comes together, it's great. If it's not all together, it's a battle. But learning to work with the station, they're key to how your day starts. Uh, Building a correct team, people who you can't be this large without a great team. I've got over 200 some employees. I was looking, my payroll is over $600,000 a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you look at all of those things together, I've got a good team that works with me.
Yeah. How do you, or how have you learned to build teams like that? Because not everybody can do that.
I tell folks this, life is about a continued path of growth. And if a person is not on that continued path, they're going to get left behind. I'm 67. I'll be 68 this year, and I've got big dreams still ahead. I went to my class reunion this past weekend in Mississippi. I went to registration. I got back to the room. My wife said, "Well, how did it go?" And I said, "There was nothing but a bunch of old people in there." She said, "Have you looked in the mirror?" And I said, "Yes, but I don't look as old as they look."
That's right.
And I heard this, and it was really good. A lot of people die at 25, but they're not buried until they're 75.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And that to me is, I never want to be that way. I want to be on a continued path of growth. I put myself around people who are better than I am.
I've always heard that is hire people that are smarter than you,
Yeah.
you know? So,
And embrace it and embrace change. I mean, we're in a fast changing world. And
Mhm.
I do a series of talks to colleges when I go speak a lot about understanding your shelf life. And everything in life has a shelf life. And if you don't understand that, then you're never repositioning yourself. You can extend the shelf life for some time, not a long time, but you can extend it. But you've got to constantly be reinventing yourself for the next phase of your life. And people who aren't doing that end up being disappointed. Life leaves them.
Wow. How have you learned to like let go of one phase to move to the next? Because I find that sometimes challenging, and I find see a lot of people like hanging on to something longer than they probably should.
Well, another talk that I do is faith without a strategy is just a wish. So, you know, so a lot of people are wanting things to happen in their life, but they have no strategy. And while my faith is super important to me, as I said, I pastored for 25 years. I've watched people use faith as an excuse for inaction.
Yeah.
And so for me, if somebody says I need to pray about it, I forget them. What they just told me was no. You cannot steer a car while it's sitting still.
Yeah.
So if somebody puts it in drive and starts moving, you can, even if it's the wrong direction, you can correct it.
Yeah.
But if it's not in drive, you can't do anything.
Exactly.
And so I look at it as a lot of people have no strategy for their life. When I left pastoring, the staff asked me, said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to own a logistics company." And they said, "Well, how are you going to do that?" I said, "Well, here's what I know. I'll go get my CDL and I'll get me a truck. I will start driving it. And in 5 years, I'll own a bunch of them." Now, it ends up, it's gone much better than that for me. Okay. But I had a strategy then. And yes, I pastored over. I mean, really, if you look at it, our attendance was well over 3,500, but we had people in the seats, over 2,200 a Sunday. So in the area, I was well known, but I didn't have too much pride. You know, I don't, a lot of people have got pride that keeps them away from their future. I was willing to get in an 18-wheeler and drive it, but I was going to own several of them one day.
Yeah.
And that was at 57 years of age.
Wow. Now, when you started your logistics company, I didn't realize that you did that. You started driving it, and were you delivering packages yourself too?
Well, so what happened is Amazon called me, and I was working with Mr. McLaughlin we'd raised that money for the orphanage. They called me and they said, would you be interested in going? I lived in the Tri-Cities of Tennessee, Johnson City, Bristol, and Kingsport. They said, would you be interested in going to Greensboro, North Carolina, and starting a logistics company to do our delivery? I thought about it for about 10 seconds, and I said, I never woke up and thought, I want to live in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I'm really not interested in going there. I'm 57. I want to, wherever I go, I want to enjoy it. What else do you have? They said, well, we've got Austin, Texas. I said, it's a done deal. They said, do you need to talk to your wife? And I said, I'll tell her when she gets home that I'm moving to Austin. And you got to remember, my wife does wealth management for Merrill Lynch. She's our primary income. At that time, she was our primary income. She does very well. And, I didn't want her to give that up, but we're empty nesters. And so I'll go to Austin. Now, here's what's funny. When I was 19 years of age, I went to Austin to buy some bulls for the farm in Mississippi. I called my brothers up and I said, hey guys, I love this town. I'm going to live in Austin one day. 40 years later, I live in Austin, Texas.
Wow. Manifestation.
Yeah. And I wasn't afraid to pull the trigger. One thing Mr. McLaughlin told me, billionaire, he said, most people are afraid to pull the trigger. And, pulled the trigger and went to Austin. It went great. I had a great company there. And then when Amazon came to the Tri-Cities, they were not in the Tri-Cities. And I called them and I said, hey, I want to transfer back. And they said, well, we can't do that. And I said, you're the biggest tech company in the world. Why can't I do that? We just can't do it. I said, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll start over. They said, you would give up what you've got and go start over? I said, absolutely. They said, why? And I said, well, I didn't know what I was doing the first time and I was successful. I know what I'm doing now. I know I'll be successful. And I did.
Wow. That's huge confidence, huge faith to just be able to just pick up and leave after you built something. A lot of people have a problem with that. Like I said, they hang on to something, and,
Yeah.
So, what gave you the faith? I understand the way you get your faith now, but like, I don't know how people can do that sometimes. And what made you decide that you could just, I said, was it just confidence that you knew you could do it again?
No, I want to say, I mean, you have no idea how many nights I lay awake thinking I was going to be a total failure. Okay. I mean, this is a brutal business. Amazon is a brutal taskmaster. I love it. I get it. They have to be,
Yeah.
but it's tough. And I would just lay awake at night wondering, God, I was a success before. Am I going to be a failure now? But here's what I learned. I learned that I love reading biographies and autobiography. I love reading. And what I learned is people who didn't make big moves never lived big lives.
That's a big one. That's really big. I've heard that never put that way, but I've heard a bunch of people say stuff about like, like you talk about pulling the trigger or taking that leap. And
Mhm.
and I look around and think that there's a lot of people out there with a lot more talent that just never have that ability to take those leaps or that leap of, or the step or pull the trigger, like you say. to live the bigger life, or to get their dreams.
Yeah, it was really weird going to my 50th class reunion because I was not at the top of the class.
Yeah.
I was not at the middle of the class. I was down there at the lower part of the class.
Mhm.
I never had most likely to succeed in my yearbook, okay?
Yeah.
When I got back to the class reunion, the fascinating thing was 100 and some people in my class. I say this and I want to say it carefully, but I would say I'm the top income earner of that entire class.
Yeah.
And probably by a lot. Okay. Now, people ask me, did you ever think you would be here in your place you're at now? And I'm like, no, I thought I would be past where I'm at right now. So I think people don't dream big enough.
I agree with that. I agree with that. My dad always told me dream big. I remember he telling me that as a
Yep.
kid all the time. Dream big, have big dreams, you know.
Yep.
And that's incredible that's a great accomplishment, but yeah, you know, that I love hearing things, and I interview people all the time from billionaires to millionaires, multimillionaires, and they always say a very similar thing um about risk and taking the leaps, but also about where they started a lot of times. Very few of them say I was, 4.0 GPA class of whatever.
Exactly.
They were usually C students, maybe just a little bit below, a little bit above, or dropouts or, but they just had a dream and had a belief system that they were going to do big things and kept taking chances.
Yeah, I asked my two children this. I said, if you knew beyond the shadow of a doubt you could do anything you wanted and it was impossible to fail, what would you do? And my son, he looked at me and he said, Dad, I wouldn't be afraid to try anything. I said, okay, you can't fail. You can get experience. You can get some painful experience. You can't fail.
Yeah.
Just get that out of your vocabulary. I cannot fail. And I think most people are more focused on the failure than they are the reward.
Do you think people are more embarrassed or scared about it than they are about the actual, like you said, like they fear the failure and the embarrassment of failing more than they want the success?
Yes. If you look at it, um, your highly successful people really have a way of disassociating themselves from other people's opinions.
That's exactly
It's 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 fascinating. I mean, look at Elon Musk, okay? And so they really disassociate themselves from other people's opinions. You cannot live your life based on how other people are going to view you.
Yeah. I try to push that to my children about other people's opinions, they're,
Mhm.
you know, worthless. Um, and so that's a good lesson for people to learn if they're actually ever trying to accomplish. I mean, really just in life in general, because like how much time do people waste worrying about what someone thought about them?
Yeah,
And I heard this once too, that people think about you a lot less than you think about them.
that's 100%. 100%. Most people are more focused on themselves than they are thinking about you.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what people, in fact, I taught my kids this. People think about you very briefly, but now here's why that's important. You have that much time to make an impression.
Mhm.
They won't think about you again. So
Right.
you got that much time. And so you're always selling yourself. How you dress, how you present yourself. You are selling yourself when you walk out of your house in the morning, you are selling yourself.
I agree with that. I read a book called Sell or Be Sold one time. You may have heard of it. It changed my mind on like that. And because you're always selling, whether or not you're just selling yourself to your spouse or to your
That's right.
team or to you're literally selling it. Because always thought sell was a bad word. Like I didn't want to be a salesman. And it turns out that's all we all are, right?
That's all we are. And here's what's crazy. The most important people in the world for me to sell, my wife and 2 children.
Right.
And now my granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to always have the right impression of me, not the impression of false impression. I want it to be genuine. But when I present myself to them, I don't come into the room sloppy. I want them to be, if I'm out in public, I want my kids to be proud daddies with them.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it through the lens of my children. And then I look at life through the lens of my employees. How do they perceive? I want my team members to say, oh yeah, I work with him. I'm affiliated with his company.
Mm-hmm.
It's just important.
Yeah. So when you talk about your team, what kind of things do you do to motivate those guys and get them right, and ready to do the job? Because that's been a hard part for me sometimes, getting my team, motivated to do the job.
Well, the first thing I understand is you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Okay, so I want to pay right, but I also pay based on performance. And I set them down and I say, listen, I am going to, this is important for you to understand, your performance drives what you're going to make. And if you don't perform, you're not going to get. But if you will perform, you're going to be rewarded, and you'll be rewarded nice. But I start all meetings with this. I want the best life for you that you can possibly have. So here's my thing. I'm going to be your advocate. I want you to have a home. I want you to have your bills paid. I want you to have a car. I want you to be happy. If you ever get an opportunity for another job, I'm going to be your advocate. I'm going to help you. But all I ask from you is for you to want that more than I want it for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's funny, but that'll weed the bad people out because it's just real easy. They don't want it.
Yeah. I'm not big into cussing. I don't like cursing. I just, there's one curse word that I hate. It's just the worst curse word there is. And it's called potential.
Yeah.
My team knows I hate that word. Because here's what potential is. Potential is you want it for them more than they want it for themselves.
Exactly.
So when I see somebody, and if somebody tells me this person has so much potential, I'm like, don't even use that word around me.
Yeah.
If they wanted it bad enough, they'd be doing it.
They can do as good as they want to, as they put the effort in. I think a lot of people I think it's scary on both sides. We run this in our HVAC company where people are like, the techs are a little bit nervous when you say that. They just want an hourly rate, and you go like, I guess it's the entrepreneur on us that would never want it. If you gave me the potential to do more and get more, like, man, I would do whatever it took. But if you put me in a thing where I can only make so much no matter what, I'm not gonna be happy. But there is those people out there who just want a guarantee, and they're just gonna do the bare minimum to try to get by.
Yeah. What happens is when a person has drama, they need to be on a salary. because here's why. They're going to constantly be sabotaging anything. So, but I tell people, if you want to live a good life, you got to get the drama out of your life.
Yeah.
And that's called order and structure. Now, if you put order and structure in your life, there's no reason why you can't be successful and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The other thing, as an employer, if I hire people who have order and structure in their life, they're going to do well by me and they're going to do well by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just easier to kind of vet them through the hiring process.
Yes. Yep.
That's really smart.
I want to know, if they come in, there's a guy I know, when he hires somebody, the first thing he does, he sets them down and he's got a guy going out looking inside their car to see how clean it is.
Mhm.
Because if they won't take care of what they have, they're not going to take care of what he has.
100%. Yes.
And so if there's more French fries in between seats than are in a McDonald's bag, they're not going to get hired.
Yeah.
And I think it's that structure and order. How well are you taking care of things? I was telling my wife this. I'm a fanatic. You got to have closet doors closed, drawers closed. You got to have things closed. And she asked me, she said, why are you so fanatical about that? I said, completion. I want people to understand everything has to be completed. You don't leave it incomplete. So a drawer is not complete if it's not closed up all the way. A task, if I'm taking a shower and I don't close the shower door, the task wasn't completed because the shower door is still open.
Mhm.
So here's what happens when you take care of the details, you never have big issues.
Right.
But if you let the details go, you're going to have a lot of issues.
Yeah. Guaranteed. That's good. That's very good. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, how as you said you were, when you were a kid that these guys from the church took you out hunting and stuff. Is there any lessons you've learned from being out in the woods that you've taken over into business and over into your life?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's again about strategy. You don't walk into the woods banging pots and pans. So it's like fly fishing. I love fly fishing
Mhm.
because what you're doing when you're fly fishing, you're imitating what's natural.
Right.
Okay. So if you take all of it, if you're really a good hunter, you're trying to blend in and fit with what's natural. Now, I love bird hunting because I love watching the dogs
Yeah.
do what they're trained to do. And they love it. They're just they know that's a collar going on their neck and they'll lean up on you so you'll put the collar on because the collar means I get to hunt.
Yeah.
And so for me, those are the experiences that I just love
Yeah.
about hunting.
I do too. I had a dog, and if I picked up my gun, he was like he was just a nervous wreck. He was just so excited. And
Yeah.
so he loved that. But it's funny. I love bird hunting, and it's the same thing. I think anybody I know that likes bird hunting, um, it's the dog work is probably the favorite part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And then there's the thrill of the chase. I mean, there's something you don't get up at 4 in the morning to go out into the woods if there's not a thrill of the chase.
yeah,
It's the same in the business world. There's the thrill of the chase. It's like I've got a good friend, he's got 17 car dealerships.
mhm,
And his wife said, why do you want more? We don't need more. We've got everything we want. And he said, it's not about that. It's about the chase. I am energized by the chase. I'm not measuring it by dollars. It's a chase that I love. I love buying something that's not doing well and turning it around.
yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels between, the outdoor things that we enjoy, outdoor pursuits, and then also our business life. And then, the other thing is using one to kind of help the other as far as like spending time away from your business to kind of re-energize, but then again,
Right.
so if you probably hunted and fished every day, you'd probably get tired of it at some point, I would think, and want to get back into the grind. Um,
I'm glad I don't hunt and fish for a living.
I had a great friend and mentor that taught me striper fishing, stripe bass fishing.
Mhm.
And he would take people fishing, and he loved to take new people fishing. And he got talked into becoming a guide. And he said it was the worst like 3 weeks of his life. He said, because now it's
Yeah,
work. He's like now,
right. That's exactly right.
yeah.
You know, I was at, I'd gone to these different, you know, plantations and to hunt. I kept asking people and reading, where is the best experience? Where's the best? And most of them came back to one place, Rio Pedra, down in South Georgia.
Mhm.
So I called my buddy that's got the car dealerships and I said, I want you to go with me. We're going to Rio Pedra down in South Georgia. We did. And we are both driven. I mean, he's much more successful than I am, but we're both driven. We get there. The hosts were standing out front when we pulled up, shaking our hands, making us feel welcome. Orders were ready. I mean, he looked at me and he said, I love this. I said, I do too. I said, the structure and order, I can totally relax. The way they met me, I know it's going to be a great hunt.
Yeah.
I know it's going to go well.
Mhm.
And he and I relaxed and we just enjoyed ourselves so much. And we keep talking about it. What a great experience that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, I'd like to go down there. Yeah, we've got to connect on that. I'd love to.
We do.
Yeah, I can see if we can figure that out. It's very sim I had a similar experience in New Zealand on a big game hunt, and it was the same thing.
Mhm.
They like when you pulled up, they met you outside with your bags and a
Oh,
cold drink and hors d'oeuvres and took your bags with them and set you up. And I mean, it was just a great experience. And I don't think people understand service sometimes, especially
right.
even in high-end places, they don't understand those little things like that make the big difference.
And to me, that was what was beautiful because I'm looking at that. He looked at it from his salespeople at his dealerships, things he can do to improve and make
Mhm.
it better.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my drivers deliver smiles. Okay. I'm how I can make it better. I went through, met with all of my employees yesterday. We have 4 different loadouts, and I did the stand up for every loadout, high five the drivers. How are you doing? What your kids doing? Couple of them have bought new homes. I highlighted them, and they got a home now. I'm so proud of them. And what I've learned is not only do I go and enjoy relaxing, but for the places like that, what are they doing that's so successful that I can copy?
I 100% agree with that. I think that that's the one thing that has really made me change the way I think about going to places like that or staying in a nicer hotel or going to those places is always like looking at what they're doing.
Yes.
How they helping. We were at the Ritz-Carlton a couple weeks ago in Dallas, and my wife asked, we were outside at this like well, I was out on the patio. We like to smoke cigars, or I like to smoke cigars.
Mhm.
And I was sitting on their patio smoking a cigar, and she asked if they had on the like the on the menu they had a creme brulee, and the guy goes, "I don't think we do. Hold on a second." And about 10 minutes later, he came back with one, and they didn't have it on the menu, but they went down the street and got one. And I was
That's
like,
service.
"That's service. Put that on my
Yeah.
bill. That's service." That was
That's it.
and
I'm sitting in the cigar lounge right now doing this interview.
oh,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah. But what's not Rio Pedra? They brought out silver trays. You picked your cigar off of the silver tray.
Oh, definitely got to go down
And
to that.
and it was just, we sat out around the fire pit, the fireplace, had a great conversation with great people, and it was just like yes, this is how you relax. In fact, I told my wife, I said, I want to take you down there. And she said, "You do?" And I said, "Yes, I want." She said, "Why do you want to take me down there?" And I said, "So you can learn how you ought to treat me all the time."
That went over well though, huh?
Oh yeah, went over really
Yeah.
well.
You know, I took my wife to New Zealand and she had the best time. And I wouldn't take her to a lot of places I go, not because that, there's
Right.
anything wrong happening, but it's just that she wouldn't enjoy it. But yeah, some of those places like that, they enjoy. There's wine and there's, like they have a spa or they have all these different things
Yep.
there. And she enjoyed it. That's when I hunted all day, she would sleep late, and then she would get a massage
Yeah.
or they went and got their nails done or, all the things.
Yep.
So
Have you been to Johnny Morris's golf courses in Missouri?
I'm not a
Big
golfer.
Cedar Lodge.
I'm not a golfer, but I've heard of it, but I'm not much of a golfer, so I don't go to those places.
Well, it's a fascinating place. Again, service
Yeah.
and how you're treated. And here's Johnny Morris with Bass Pro,
Yeah.
and it was that was again a fabulous experience of service. Now, do I golf? Um, I tell people I am an honest cheater. I tell you right up front that I'm going to cheat. Okay, so you know it from the very beginning. My
Yeah,
foot wedge is my best club. I'm going to position that ball where I can hit it.
yeah.
And if you don't like it, you need to choose somebody else to play golf with.
That's the good one. My son's like that. He is an honest cheater. He's gonna cheat. He already tells you that. But yeah,
Yep.
so also the fish is this much bigger, right? That's
Oh
a
yeah, yeah.
story.
So part of hunting is stories.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, and that's the reason I love doing what I'm doing now. Like
Mhm.
interviewing and talking to people about their business is, as a business owner, you really just love talking business.
Yep.
You like talking about we like hearing about their business, what they're doing well and what they're doing that's different than you. And then same thing with hunting. I love hearing hunting stories or fishing stories and the bigger the better. You know what I mean? I love it. Love it. So I'm really happy to have you on here and talk about it. We connected so at the conference and it's like we're like hunting, fishing, business, cigars, Rolexes. What
Yep.
else do we not like? I thought we bourbon. It's like we almost like
Bourbon. It's a
yeah.
one thing I've discovered, and that's really, I think, highly interesting is men, very few men have someone safe to brag to.
Yeah.
And
Someone
there's
that's
a
gonna,
need.
I was gonna say someone
I
that's gonna actually be happy for them.
Yes, they will celebrate your wins with you.
Mhm.
They're not looking down, and when you tell them, they don't look at you as if you're trying to outdo. You're celebrating a win, and they join with you in that celebration.
Yeah.
And very few men have that. And one of the, I tell folks this: hunters will celebrate each other.
Yeah.
Fishermen will celebrate each other.
Yeah.
Lots of businesses don't do that.
That's a good point. They don't have that. You
They
know,
don't have it.
it is important to kind of find your tribe there. People that
Yes.
you can celebrate your win with. That's what we're going to try to build here with this podcast and their mission. We're going to do the same thing. Like I told you, we're going to put on some hunts and do some things and invite people. And the Rio Pedro sounds like the perfect place to do one.
Yeah.
We got a Texas pig hunt coming up next year, and then on the helicopter, they'll do the
Oh,
helicopter run.
so the best trip I've ever had was in Texas, over around Abilene. I went pork chopping, and I killed 18 hogs and 5 coyotes and 2 skunks in 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, there's no thrill. I've hunted, and I know a lot of people have great thrills. I have never experienced the thrill of hunting like I did hunting hogs from a helicopter.
Yeah.
Pork chopping.
Pork chop. Well, that's what we have one plan for the spring. We're going to be putting together. So I'll connect you, let you know when we got it going on. But yeah, I'd love to sit down and get the connection with that Rio Pedro and figure that out too.
Yeah, we will do that. And here's the thing: we need to invite men who also want that connection. who we
Yeah.
can celebrate and celebrate life with, and who love to laugh and have fun.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the kind of people I want to spend my life with.
That's exactly why I created this, and that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be around those guys like that, that have been, been through it, but also got on the other side of it, and
That's right.
wants us to learn. Um, I found that too, that not one person I've ever found, I've ever admired or saw that had any level of success has not been through some pretty bad stuff, and some pretty
Well, that's the
devastating.
truth.
Like you were talking about earlier about laying in bed at night thinking, am I going to be a failure? Most people don't. I don't know how most people think, because everybody I know and want to be around, that's pretty common. They're they're doing it every few
Yeah.
years. They're having that crisis. Um,
You know, safety is a big thing.
Mhm.
When I was pastoring, one day my wife looked at me and she said, I wish you would come down off the cross sometime and let Jesus get upon it. Now, that was not a compliment.
Yeah, yeah.
Eh,
I didn't think it that
ah,
way either.
oh my God, I knew my marriage was in trouble. So
Mhm.
I started getting counseling and I started going to counseling. And counselor, I'll never forget, she looked at me and she said, who do you trust to talk to? And you got to remember, my brothers and I, family's close, got a great family. I said, no one.
Mm.
She said, there's no one that you trust to talk to. And I said, no, no one. And she went through a whole list of people. And I said, no. She said, why do you not trust anyone? And I said, I don't know. So I went, I was going on a regular basis. In fact, after my first time with counseling, my wife called. She was worried. How did it go? And I said, I think my counselor's got a thing for me. And she said, what do you mean? I said, she wants to see me again next week. But so about 5 weeks into it, I went in and I said, I know why. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I know why I can't talk to anyone. She said, okay. I said, you see, I believe it wouldn't matter what somebody was going through. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to judge them. And I will celebrate with them. I don't trust they'll do the same for me. And man, Sam, that was the beginning of me making a drastic change in my life and saying, I'm going to be around people that I can be transparent with and who are safe. And if they're not transparent and safe, I don't want to be around them.
Wow. How do you, or what metrics do you look for when you're meeting new people? What are you looking for to kind of make sure that they can be part of your circle?
If a man's not a good daddy, he is not going to be my friend.
I agree with that.
I got friends who may not be the best husbands. I might fit in that category. Okay.
Yeah.
They may not be the best husband, but if a man's not a good daddy, I
Mm,
don't want him as my friend.
yeah, I agree with that 1,000%.
And so I want to hear, is he affirming his kids? Is he the affirmer? Or is he someone who has to be affirmed?
Mm,
If someone has to be affirmed, they're never safe.
yeah.
Never. You want to be with people who are affirmers to others. They're constantly sharing others. I believe in you. Hey, I've got your back. Those are the affirmers. And you look at, if they're affirming their children, they're probably going to be a safe person to be with.
That's good. That's a really good. You've shared some really incredible insights today. I'm really grateful that we got this chance to do this. So,
Well, thank you. Hey, I'm 67, but I'm still not old. Okay.
yeah. Well, I got you here. I'm gonna ask a couple questions, kind of off topic. Um, what we normally do, but what's your favorite cigar brand that you're smoking now?
Liga Privada.
Ooh, that's a good one. That
I
is.
like Ligas. I am just, you know, Where I buy my cigars, they give me a hard time because I love the Ligas, but I love the L40s. But I went in and I said, "Do y'all have any I40s?" So they still give me a hard time about it because telling me, "Oh, your I40s come in," but but I love Liga. Liga just to me is my favorite cigar brand. They're
They're really
consistent.
good. They're really good. They're consistent. And I'm a Padron. I love Padron 26s and 64.
Oh,
That's
they're just Padrones. They don't make a bad Padron. I mean, they're just great cigars. The
yeah.
guy who owns the cigar lounge, he smoked Padrones.
I love them, but I've been trying to make myself branch out and smoke something else every so often.
Mhm.
So, because there's a lot of good brands out there. But yeah, man, those
Yeah.
are two of my absolute favorite. Matter of fact, if I had my little case here, it's loaded with both of them.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
So those are good. It's good. And then, so you like bird hunting and fly fishing a lot. Where's your favorite place besides Rio Pedra to hunt?
there's a place in Mississippi called Prairie Wildlife. Mr. Jimmy
Mhm.
Bryan owns it. And it is fabulous. I mean, Mr. Jimmy is an outdoorsman. He's he's just a great guy, and he makes sure the hunt is memorable. His team is fabulous. I love them. For pheasant hunting, the best place I have ever been is Firestill Creek Lodge in Isabel, South Dakota.
Oh, I know. I've heard of that one. That's another guy that I was talking to. He's a big pheasant hunter, and that's where they go. They love it up
Oh
there.
yeah, it's first class. It is absolute first class there.
Yeah. What about fishing? Where are you, where have you your best place, and where do you want to go?
Okay, so I live in East Tennessee, and we got the Watauga and South Poston here. Great fly fishing here. Outside of the Rocky Mountains, probably the best fly fishing in the country. When I go on trips, I like the Gunnison in Colorado. I like the Clark in Montana, and of course the Yellowstone. It's a classic. But and then wading fly fishing, Rock Creek, just outside of uh, you just right up there, not far from Bozeman. Rock Creek is probably one of my favorite wading fly fishing rivers.
Yeah. Do you guys do more like what is it called? The float boats?
Drifting,
You up there in Tennessee?
drifting. We do a lot of drifting here in Tennessee. The rivers are good drifting rivers.
Yeah, I've done North Georgia. I've not made it up to North Carolina and East
Yeah.
Tennessee yet.
Well, you need to come up here. Let's
Yeah.
do a trip. I'll put it together. You let me know, and we'll put together a good fly fishing trip.
I'd love to do that. Love to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a beautiful area,
yeah,
and we're very blessed here in East Tennessee.
yeah, that's good. I got into fly. My wife bought me a fly fishing trip to the Snake. It was during COVID. I can't remember when it was.
Yeah.
That's my indicator of what time it was, and I fell in love with it. And now I've done it. We've done several trips, and I just burned my arm up the first time I went. And but I've learned a little bit better casting now. But man, it was a great trip, and caught a lot of cutthroat. It was really great.
Oh yeah. I took my family out to the Snake River. So we stayed in Jackson Hole and drifted down. My daughter and I was in one drift boat, my wife and son in the other one. So me, I'm trying my best to impress my guides, just throw it right and mend the line right and just show them how good I was. My daughter, she just threw it out there. Guess who caught the most fish?
Oh, I'm sure.
My daughter, she I'm like, this is not right. You're just sloppy throwing that line out there, and she'd bring a cutthroat in. It was hilarious.
That's great. Well, that's why I don't like taking my wife fishing with me anymore. She always catches more fish than I do.
Exactly. Exactly.
We were on a trip
You can't even tell them a lie, because
Well,
they were there with you.
we were down on the coast one time. We weren't fly fishing, but we were just offshore fishing. I remember she sat down one time and said, "I'll sit down so you can catch some fish." I thought that's the closest I think we ever got to getting divorced.
Yep, that hurts. That
That hurt,
really, really
but I
hurts.
mean, it
So,
wasn't untrue.
yeah. Do you ever go red fishing?
Oh, I love red fishing. Yes. Yeah.
You're gonna have to tell me where to go. I'm wanting to go red fishing.
Well, I mean, Louisiana is not is probably hard to beat. You know,
Yeah.
you can now one of the things now I would love to do this too is you can do a cast and blast where you can do a duck hunt in the morning and then a red fish in the afternoon.
That's what I want to do. I want to do the cast and blast.
Yeah.
And have you ever been to Honey Lake?
No, but I know people have been to Honey Break. Is that what it
Honey Break, Honey Break,
Yeah.
Honey Break. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me ask, my brother-in-law, they go down there every year, and I can't remember where it's at, but they stay on a big barge, and then
Okay, that's what I want to do. I want to go red fishing, and I want to stay on a barge.
that
So find out where that is, because I want to do that.
I'll find out because they have magnificent trip every time I've seen his pictures from it.
Yeah.
And he says that it's the same. It's like he'll stop fishing or hunting in the middle of it because he's worn out. You know?
Yeah, that's what I want to do. And then my bucket list is to do a cast and blast in Argentina.
Oh yeah, I'd like to do that. Or now I'd want to add a stag on top of that. But
Yeah, that would be sweet.
yeah,
That would be sweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
they got some. Yeah, that Argentina is on my list. It's definitely on.
Yeah.
Well,
That's well, we got to hook up and connect, and so let's stay
we
connected.
definitely will. I'll keep you connected to this we got going on. We're going to be putting together trips along the way and meetings where we can have guys like you and me and the different guys in the room where we can sit around, smoke cigars, and talk hunting and business and stuff. And so, and then we're definitely going to be, probably me and Mike will be talking to you sooner about, as he gets his
Yeah.
stuff in line with the DSP.
I'd like for Mike to come up and spend time with me and my team before he
Okay.
ever does it. He needs to come up, spend time, and really just spend time with my HR person and just the whole hiring. It makes it much better if you do that.
Yeah, I'll talk to him today, and we'll set that up pretty soon because I want to make sure we're ahead of the game.
That's great. You let me know and I'm ready. Okay.
Greg, I am so glad and honored that we had you on today. It was a great, time today. And so, guys, again, Hunt for Success. You will learn a lot about strategy, business, and a lot about hunting and fishing and life. So, thanks for coming on today, Greg.
Thank you so much. It's my honor. You have a great day. Okay.
All right.
You've been listening to The Hunt for Success with Dr. Sam McGew. If this episode brought value to you, make sure you follow and subscribe so you never miss a conversation with the entrepreneurs and high performers building success on their own terms. For more episodes, resources, and insights on building wealth and designing freedom, visit thehuntforsuccess.com. Until next time, keep building, keep pursuing, and keep hunting for the life you want.